Hello League of Legends YouTubers, Sino seeing you again, and in this video I'm going to teach you guys how to understand the forever evolving League of Legends meta and determine how you yourself can find and exploit whatever is overpowered in any meta. So in this video, you will learn how to be able to keep up and adapt your champion pool, your item builds, and your game-winning strategies however the game may change. For those who don't understand the concept of meta, it basically means the most optimal or best way to play the game at any point in time. As much as Riot Games likes to push for balance and an overall viability of every champion and item in the game, there will always be stronger or weaker champions, items, or strategies of play. And it's just how the dynamic of the game works. Once you understand this concept and what I'm about to teach you, you will always be able to play ahead of the game and be ready for any changes League of Legends throws at you. The basis for understanding a meta starts with playing an abundance of matches in a certain patch. As you play these games, start to notice which champions are being picked over and over, which of the same items are being picked by different champions, what types of champions are being played in certain positions, and what types of strategies are players and teams using successfully. These are the types of questions you should be asking yourself, and an example of things you will notice in a patch like 6.7 are the continual appearance of champions like Jhin in the bot lane, and Graves and Poppy in the top or jungle, many champions building Titanic Hydra or Black Cleaver, or the commonplace of Abyssal Scepters amongst mid laners. Another thing to notice is the multitude of tank champions being played in the top lane, and the predominance of lane bullies in bot. And finally, one may notice that many team comps are utilizing split pushing strategies with champions that can build items such as Guinsoo's Rageblade. Now, I'm not suggesting that anything that comes up frequently in your solo queue games automatically means it's OP, but most of the time, strategies that are being abused in the game by players are generally those that are the most effective. Keeping all of this in mind, you should have a pretty good simple idea of what a meta entails, but here is how to think critically and analytically about the state of the game to keep yourself ahead of the meta. In patch 6.7 and for most of the season now, it is evident that the item Guinsoo's Rageblade is quite strong. We can determine this by how often you see it in games, how often you see champions build it do well, and how often your health bar has been destroyed by that Master Yi on the enemy team with one. Once we have identified an item such as Rageblade, we take the next step in identifying which other items can synergize well with this item, and which champion can build this multitude of items most effectively with their kits. Master Yi is a perfect example. Played in the jungle with the Sated Devourer and Guinsoo's, his kit is packed with enough attack speed, movement speed, and damage steroids to be able to take down most champions in the game in the right circumstances. These can be coupled with the Blade of the Ruined King or a Titanic Hydra or even a Wit's End, but in reality, the Devourer and Rageblade give him enough damage that he can afford to build nothing but defensive items after that and still wreak havoc anywhere on the map. In my honest opinion, Yi is quite overpowered at the moment, given that he can build considerably tanky and still do ridiculous amounts of damage with this build. There is also the fact that with this build, Master Yi has many options in terms of playstyle and build variations to adapt in different matches against different team comps. Like I said earlier, he can couple his Devourer with and his Guinsoo's with a Bork or Titanic Hydra and split push quite effectively with the option of killing whoever comes to stop him, while his team pushes another objective on the map. Or he can just build those two core items and go full tank after that and have an extremely deadly teamfight presence as a cleanup type champion that will kill carries instantly and be too beefy to take down. The important thing to take from my Master Yi example is not the specifics, but the framework which I use to determine why Master Yi is strong, how to build optimally and to make him strongest, and why this works so well at the moment. Let's use another example, but this time it'll be something that might not be so obvious to some players. Keeping in mind that split pushing is currently an effective strategy, that tanky champions are doing well on the Rift, and that there are certain items that are quite clearly very popular choices for their strengths at the moment, the example I want to use is Galio. Now, Galio is one of the least popular champions in the game, and has been this way for a while. He hasn't really come into favour for many reasons now and may still not. But in evaluating this champ's strengths, weaknesses, and potential synergy with items that are currently favourable, we can notice that Galio can potentially be used extremely effectively right now. As most of you would know, Galio gains ability power from building Magic Resist. Keeping this in mind, there are two clearly very strong items at the moment that Galio can greatly benefit from. These are Abyssal Scepter and Banner of Command. Let's take this as the core of our Galio build and add an Athene's Unholy Grail to manage his mana costs, cooldowns, and give him that extra bit of magic resist. Then, we can also build a ZZ portal to set up an extremely effective split push strategy when coupling this with your Banner of Command active. That doesn't even require you to be in the lane that's being pushed. So you can set that up in one lane and go off and do something else somewhere else on the map, and that lane will automatically push. By this point, your Galio is pretty much immune to any magic damage and will still dish out some decent damage of his own. This can be finished off with a Dead Man's Plate or a Randuin's Omen or even a Sunfire if the extra survivability against physical damage is what he needs. And of course any boots to situationally fit the build. Personally, I would swap out the final defensive item for a Luden's Echo, or take a defensive armor item and Luden's instead of the ZZ Rot. With this build, you can have the flexibility of setting up a split pushing lane with your Banner of Command. You can poke before team fights with the help of your Ludens and Athenes. You buff your team with the passive effects of your Abyssal and Banner. And you're tanky enough to waltz into the middle of a team fight and pull off a huge ultimate and completely destroy the enemy team. Now, doesn't this sound pretty viable in the current meta to you? I've given you the examples. Now you can use this framework to theorycraft on your own and determine how to play most effectively in any given meta. Remember that split pushing is not always going to be an effective method of play. The meta can and will eventually shift to a more teamfight focused style, and when that happens, champions like Master Yi will most likely be pushed off the top spot. In much the same way, items can be nerfed or buffed, and you must always be keeping up with these changes and asking yourself what they mean for the game and the champions you want to play. To recap, the way to keep up with the top champion picks in any meta is to stay tuned to patch notes and always critically analyze the matches you play to notice trends and results of champion picks, item builds, and individual or team-orientated strategies. You must always be thinking about the synergy between items, champions, and strategies, and how you can use that knowledge to the best of your advantage. Keeping those main 3 points in mind, you will always be able to stay up to date with the meta and be prepared for any shifts that the team at Riot Games may throw at us. That brings me to the end of the video. If you guys liked it and want to see more videos like this, let me know in the comments section and check out my channel. I'll be making informative and educational League of Legends content on a regular basis to give you guys a deeper level of understanding of the game and to help you improve as players. See you soon.